In the latest Ease of Doing Business Index, Nigeria climbed up 24 places and is also placed on the list of 10 most reformed economies globally.
Now, the World Bank Doing Business Project provides objective measures of business regulations and their enforcement across 190 economies worldwide. Now, the World Bank highlighted 5 reforms that make it easier to do business in Kano and Lagos, the 2 cities covered by the report, to include starting a business, dealing with construction permits, registering property, getting credit, and paying taxes. Well, we have a senior special assistant to President Buhari on industry, trade and investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole. She's here with us, and of course she's the coordinator of the Enabling Business Environment Secretariat. It's good to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you.
What a feat to achieve in such a short period since the PBEC was set up by this administration. How did you achieve this in so short a time, from 169 to 145?
Thank you for having me. The secret is actually collaboration. It's collaboration, multiple levels of government, agencies, dealing with the National Assembly, state governments. It's working together. That's really the secret. Yes. It's a lot of hard work. You have to be very strategic and focus on particular areas of intervention. We also like to carry along the Nigerian public, really make sure that the impact is felt and that the sustainability is assured. So those are the things to keep an eye on, and then success is yours. Wow.
That is really good, because when this latest ratings came out, a lot of people were, wow, Nigeria moving up over 20 places is really commendable. But however, give us a picture. How bad were things on ground before this decision or this policy decided to come on board? So I think
the thing about Nigeria is that we sort of went to sleep, in the sense that even without working on our business climate, we were grossing the highest levels of FDI on the continent. There was an oil boom. We didn't really, you know, it was like take it or leave it. Both Nigerian businesses and foreign investors, what you see is what you get. And there were pockets trying to make some reforms, but they were isolated. And so it's just like diffused. You couldn't feel any impact. This result, you have 24 places this year. But you recall that last year, for the first time, we stemmed the tide and moved up by 1 place. Before that, for over a decade, we were steadily moving downwards because nobody was coordinating and making sure that the impact to deliver was there.
Well, for you to succeed in this kind of achievement, like you said, you need a lot of collaboration and all of that.
You do.
How are you able to sustain this success that you've just recorded if the power sector is not where it should be, and every other sector that would make ease of doing business something that is normal?
Yeah.
Part of our lives.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the most important thing is political will. To push ease of doing business is basically soft infrastructure. Your regulatory environment, the way civil and public servants deal with businesses that are operating in the country, reducing the cost, reducing the speed, just making things more transparent and convenient for businesses to thrive in Nigeria. You need political will to push and sustain the reforms. You also need a lot of feedback. So I'll tell you a bit about an app that we've just launched, the PBEC app, that puts the power in the hands of Nigerians.
Well, what's it called?
It's the PBEC app.
PBEC.
Yes.
Okay.
You go to our PBEC website, you have a link to the app. That will ensure sustainability, because Nigerians will be able to give feedback, have started. At the last meeting on the 8th, it was launched, and Nigerians have started making reports, and there's a 72-hour period for resolution. Now, what this does is that the sustainability is not linked to one administration. You're able to continue demanding for the services that you deserve.
All right. Now, it's good you're telling us about this app now. It is one thing to come up with these beautiful policies. It's another thing to be able to make Nigerians know. information reaching out, engaging Nigerians. What are you doing to make Nigerians know that? Because there are so many people who can even go into, there are a lot of startups, there are a lot of young Nigerians who are coming up with very wonderful ideas, but they don't know that these things have really changed. What is that deliberate effort to make Nigerians become aware?
Okay, I'll tell you about our communication drive, but I'll mention a bit about hard and soft infrastructure and the interplay, because you asked me that question and I didn't respond. So in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, under competitiveness, you have two sections. The first one is on hard infrastructure, and it's broken down into power and then roads and rail. And the honorable ministers are working on the hard infrastructure. Then the second part is ease of doing business, the soft infrastructure. So that's the interplay. The administration as a whole is committed to solving these two things and not taking either for granted, because you need both to achieve. On our part, we have to make sure that we have a lot of stakeholder engagements. Right now, we're on a national road show, and we're having several stakeholder engagements across the 6 geopolitical zones. Because you recall, we had been working mainly with Lagos and Kano, and of course the FCT.
That's my, let me just, cut in there. Lagos and Kano, are these 2 states out of 36 states enough to actually gauge the level of ease of business in the country?
Well, for the World Bank, what the World Bank does is it takes the largest city in a country.
Okay.
Countries like Nigeria that had a population of over 100 million as at 2013, they added a second city. So that's why Nigeria is measured by Lagos and Kano. It's just a few countries that have 2 cities measured. The World Bank is just a gauge, and it's just really a benchmark, a scorecard that you can use empirically to track yourself. But that's not our real focus. Our real focus is for Nigerians across the country to feel the impact and give us the testimonials. So we have a subnational project. We presented, the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment and I presented to the NEC, also chaired by the Vice President. And the governors agreed that we should work together on this. So we have a parallel state subnational ease of doing business intervention.
And countries like South Africa are around 82. And I'm just wondering how long it will take Nigeria to get to, or to be at par with countries like South Africa, even Rwanda, for example. Yeah,
Rwanda is in the 40s now.
Yes.
So what it is, and you will see this, Nigeria was not in very good company. At 169 out of 190, we're basically with a lot of, troubled economies, war-torn economies. So we knew that when Mr. President gave us the target of move up 20 places, the sub-Saharan average is in the 140s. So that was really the target, like, you're like the biggest economy in sub-Saharan Africa, and you're with the least performing economies, at least come within your peers. But we're not there yet. We have much to do. When Nigeria is like top 50, then we'll know we've really arrived. But at least we should be playing in top 100. That's where we belong.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to us. Let us even start from starting a business. That has to do with registration and all of that. Now, what has really changed? If someone wants to start a business now and there's the ease of doing business and you're supposed to be able to register quicker or something, what has really changed about that?
Somebody actually came to like jack me up at the airport. Like, why do you say these things to Nigerians and they're not true? He was a lawyer. He says his clients now tell him, why do you say it's going to take 3 days? I understand that this takes 24 to 48 hours and I want my business registered immediately. The significant things that have happened from this time last year to today, before CAC had about 6 manual forms that you needed to fill. You needed to go in person, get them. Now, those forms have been consolidated into one form. It's online. You can do a name search from the comfort of your office. You can do a name reservation from the comfort of your office online. You can fill the form, submit it, and then you get your registration. You can get your TIN number. You can pay your stamp duties online. So a lot has changed. You don't need a lawyer anymore. It's optional. You can use a lawyer if you want, but if you want to do it yourself, which a lot of young entrepreneurs want to do, they don't want to spend up to 100,000 incorporating a business.
Register a company.
Yes, so you can do it yourself for under 20,000. So those are the things that have changed.
That's interesting to know, but the real point is, just like Mike raised earlier, how does the ordinary man on the street actually know that, look, it's a new day when it comes to ease of doing business, because it's not only foreign direct investors that are the target. You actually want ease of business to apply when it comes to local, domestic arena. Now, the civil service is seen as a real cog in the wheel of progress when it comes to whatever you want to achieve.
Bottlenecks and bureaucracies.
And I recall former governor of, governor of Kaduna State right now actually did say, El Rufai, that, look, if government is going to succeed at anything, whether it's economic recovery growth plan or, the budgets and what have you, there is a need to reform the civil service.
Yes.
Is that part of the package?
Yes.
In such a way that we can actually see it rub off on
It is, and it's a very serious thing at that. The first thing is that when you look at the Ease of Doing Business initiative, it's actually targeted at SMEs. I mean, larger businesses don't like it when I say that their problems are more sophisticated and that they have access to power. They know ministers, they can go to the presidency. But it's designed to cater to SMEs, to make the system such that you don't need to know anybody to get a construction permit. You don't need to know anybody to register your business quickly, efficiently. The cost, because it's SMEs that can't bear this cost of come today, come tomorrow, which leads us to the civil service and the public service. What His Excellency has said is anyone that is not working with the administration to make sure that we're giving the kind of public service, because we're public servants, that we're actually sabotaging the Nigerian economy. Those were his words when he signed the executive order. The purpose of the executive order is to deepen those reforms from the service delivery point of view. And you have regulations for directives for transparency, directives for single interface, aimed at removing the human contact interface, rent-seeking opportunities. Yes.
Major
making things,
Nigerians are very used to that.
Yes, making things. And Nigerians also need to not undermine the reforms. Challenge anybody that's saying you need to fill a form you're not supposed to fill. You need to pay an amount that is not listed on the website. Challenge it. That's now why we have the app, so you can actually document it. Because people do get upset, talk about it, tweet about it, but you need somewhere to channel your...
That's all we're talking about, awareness earlier on.
Yes.
Because you need to know that this charge you're talking to me about is not originally on the part of the process. Now, we know, she talked about power earlier on and the hard infrastructure when it comes to roads and other rail and so on and so forth, which should be part of the integral process. But is there a time frame that you have set as a target to say, okay, now that we've moved 24 places, we want by the next 3 months or 6 months to be able to move this far or something? Is there any time frame?
We're currently in a second national action plan, even as we speak. We started it on the 3rd of October and it ends on the 1st of December. The results that Nigerians are celebrating on the move of 24 places, that was the work we did over the last 12 to 18 months. And work hasn't stopped because we're not there yet at all. I alluded to the fact that we started a subnational project, the stakeholder engagement, moving back to communication. The Vice President was at the stakeholder engagement at FCT. He's held several SME clinics, speaking to the point of SMEs again, and he takes with him NAFDAC, CAC, BOI. You need access to credit, you need, FIRS, paying taxes. All those agencies go with him. The next one is in Kano. He has one in Lagos. So he's been around. It kicked off in Aba last year. So these are the things that make us communicate and hold us accountable, because really it's a moving target. I wouldn't want to. We actually don't focus on rankings. We use the scorecard as a guide, and we do other things. We have homegrown indicators like entry and exit of people. Trading within Nigeria is a big homegrown indicator, because a lot of the feedback from our stakeholder engagements, and we've been having them for 18 months now, once a quarter, were like NAFDAC is a big challenge to SMEs, the police, customs, in movement of goods across the country, and then intellectual property, the trademark office, and NOTAP. So we grouped those top 6 together and we're working with them. So they have nothing to do with the World Bank, but everything to do with doing business in Nigeria.
Yeah, absolutely. We gather that you work with some 10 or so ministers.
Yes.
That really is huge.
Yes.
How is it to, how challenging is it to get all of them on the same page in such a way that they're not
working
just
at cross purposes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think that's the gift of my boss. The vice president is phenomenal with working with people. He's very, very collaborative in his approach, and he's really brought out the best in all of the members of cabinet. Mm-hmm. They work as one team. They pull together in the same direction. A lot of these problems are cross-cutting. Yes. You have like traffic in the ports. He chaired a meeting just earlier this week just to talk about specifically the Apapa roads, the ports, the congestion. Yeah. You had the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Power Works and Housing. You had leading private sector. Alhaji Dangote was there, Obautudeko, Honeywell. So he has the ability and the personality to bring a lot of diverse people into the room. We work with the central bank governor, the head of civil service, all the ministers that need to be there. Of course, information, but of course, trade, finance, foreign affairs, power works and housing. All the ministers that need to be in the room so that when the issues come up, it's agreed right there and the actions are out. Okay. So that all the agencies that we as the Secretariat deal with on a daily basis, about 40 in all right now, they understand there's the executive order, they understand the mandate of the council, and so they work with us to deliver. And that's the impact that you've seen in the 24 places. And by God's grace, we continue with the same approach. I told you about the NAP2, that's the current second National Action Plan. It's to deepen the reforms. CAC, for instance, closed manual processes in 5 locations, 10 more to be closed across the country.
Does that include the 60-day action plan by government?
The 60-day action plan on ease of doing business?
On ease of, yes.
Yes, we had one from February to April, earlier this year.
Okay.
That was the first 60-day national action plan. We're currently in a second 60-day national action plan that started on October 3rd and will end on December 1st. And some of the mandates under that, for instance, we've done phenomenally working with the National Assembly, with the Central Bank, the Collateral Registry. We're number 6 in the world for the regulatory environment for getting credit. But it doesn't stop there. How does the SME access the credit? But what we as government have done is to make sure that with the Collateral Registry, SMEs can use their movable property to access capital instead of being asked for landed property. The other thing is that now there's a legal framework for the credit bureaus. There are 3 credit bureaus in the country, so you have a credit history like you do elsewhere. And what we need to do now is to make sure that financial institutions avail the credit at lower rates because they can take more risk on SMEs because the legal framework is stronger. So that's how we got that rating. But the work is not done yet. Financial institutions need to take the risk and lend out the money, knowing that legally, if you allow an SME to use their machinery as collateral, you can register it on the collateral registry, and then that SME cannot use that same machinery anywhere across the country because it's on the national registry.
Okay. Okay, wow. I think that makes a lot of sense. But talk to us about the subnational target you talked earlier on. Is that meant to encourage business from one state to another, or talk to us about it? Okay,
so interestingly, Nigeria, again, we get a lot of global attention. The World Bank ranks Nigeria at a subnational level. We're one of the few, I think, 10 countries in the world that the World Bank ranks as states, because people want to do business across the country, but they don't have enough information. So when we presented the plan to the state governors, they agreed that indeed we should replicate this collaborative approach that has worked. And with Lagos and Kano, we've demonstrated it. So World Bank ranks about 4 things. But of course, again, we've gone beyond that. Yes. We've listed about 11 areas, including security, that we'd like to look at. They suggested that actually, across the states. So what we've done is had a workshop in Abuja. States have reform champions nominated, and we work together. We're replicating the process. We're going to Ogun State and Kaduna State later this month We're holding a stakeholder engagement in Aba the beginning of December. So we're now going round and round. We're going to Borno early next year. So there's a plan. That's the roadshow I talked about.
Okay.
And states will by nature, regions will by nature, because you know that actually business doesn't know these borders.
Yes.
You have the regions that grow rice. You have the regions that grow tomatoes. It's 3, 4, 5, 6 cluster states, and the farmers work across. But they have the challenges of moving perishables. So it's really more about regions than about states, and the governors are prepared to work together. I'm hoping to speak to them again this month at the Governors Forum, just to continue that discussion.
What about these sectors, like the mining sector, for example? There's a lot of opaqueness in that area, and it is public knowledge that that sector can actually help Nigeria when it comes to revenue, sources. What are you doing to change the narrative as far as the mining sector is concerned?
Well, that would be the Minister of Mines and Steel
Is he
Development.
on board with you on
he
this?
Is actually on board on the council. Yes. So.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Now, legislation. That's the way that you can actually, because we talked about sustainability earlier,
yes.
To ensure that when this government, because at the time will come, anyhow, when this government will not be there. Yeah. What are you doing to ensure, as far as legislation is concerned, to make sure that whatever gains are achieved right now, are sustained?
Okay. Right now, it's a bit premature, but I'll tell you since you asked. I think Nigerians deserve to know. We're working on an omnibus bill with the National Assembly. So the executive is going to sponsor an omnibus bill and work with the National Assembly to pass it by next quarter. What an omnibus bill does, and it's a strategy that has been used in a number of countries, Mauritius, Kenya. It scoops up a lot of the irritants in our laws. There's some relics from colonial era. There's some requirements that people don't even know. Why is anybody asking for some red seal, and then nothing can move? Why are you asking for some green and white ribbon on a trademark? Who needs the ribbon? I just need my trademark to do my business. Yeah. So there's some things in our laws that we need to remove. And we've been working with the section of business law on the bar of the Nigerian Bar Association. They've been working on this since July. A lot of hard work. About 30 or 40 law firms working together pro bono to scope across the board on our laws and to bring together a package that, once implemented, should ease things significantly. Okay. So you got the scoop right here.
Okay.
That's interesting. Now, talk to us about visas. We have heard a plethora of complaints from nationals, people who want to visit Nigeria, and it's not easy
it's so
to get visas to Nigeria from some countries. Yes,
really?
Yes.
I've had so many. That's one of our star reform areas. Actually, the Comptroller General Immigration has done a phenomenal job. Our visa on arrival, 48 hours, is working. Okay. Just go on the immigration website. The procedure is there. If you have a business visitor to come to Nigeria, within a week, 48 hours, they get the visa and they can turn up. Okay. For our missions abroad, a bit more difficult, and the Comptroller General, along with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, we're constantly engaging. When we get a report from one, we got a report this week from the Atlanta mission. I sent them the whistle blow, and immediately they swung into action. As for the CCTV coverage of that day, and who was being rude, who was delaying, and they work on it. So that's work in progress, but the directive is 48 hours for visas, for Nigerian visas in all our missions abroad. Okay,
that's interesting to know. I had no time to ask about how corruption perception index, affects all of this in the long run. Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, Senior Special Assistant to the President on ease of doing business, enabling business environment secretary. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you talked about the PEBIC app, so we'll be looking forward to.
Yeah, please.
Yes, Thank you so much for coming on the program.